Uh, hello, and welcome to the Bilgecast Wrestling Podcast, Episode 5. I'm Ollie Johnson. Here with me is Sam Congrave and Ian Burrows. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing great, thanks.
I'm doing good.
Good. Now, first, the elapsed time is on negative 20 seconds. I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, let's just jump into it, shall we? So, without spoilers for now, what did you guys think of this week on Raw and SmackDown?
Not a lot happened.
I don't care.
3 weeks out from WrestleMania, and it's not exactly a glowing review, is it?
No.
Well, I think we're going to get into the details as to why it's just not working and why enthusiasm is kind of at the lowest. And to be fair, I think WWE is trying something. It's just what they're trying is kind of lame and, it's insulting if nothing else.
Are you talking about the Kurt Angle retirement match news?
That is one of the things.
Right, it is one of the things. Yeah, but let's talk about that for a while. Yeah, Kurt Angle's final opponent in his farewell match has been chosen, and it's Baron Corbin.
It is literally the guy who was a jobber in NXT for years before they gave him a new finisher, had him job to people like all I remember of him on NXT was he got into a rivalry with Samoa Joe, and Joe choked him the fuck out. He got into a rivalry with Rhino. Rhino beat him. He got into a feud with Austin Aries. Aries beat him with a roller in his debut match on pay-per-view. And he came to the roster. He was somehow given the Money in the Bank briefcase and then lost to Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, then he just started wearing a suit. Then he just started wearing a suit and doing nothing. He was somehow Kurt Angle's bodyguard or something. And yet,
the point I think you're trying to make here is, what do the company think this match can do for anyone?
Corbin's employment. Well, Corbin's employment is questionable because he was never a big deal in NXT. He's never a big deal on SmackDown. And when he came to Raw, the one time he was expected to do his job as bodyguard of Kurt Angle, he backed away from Brock Lesnar, which put Brock over, granted. But again, Corbin is not that big. He's not even the big. I mean, his gimmick for a while was, I hate small people. Now he was forced into a feud with a guy who is much bigger than him, and that feud dragged on for longer than it had any right to.
Yeah.
And again,
is Dolph Ziggler doing anything these days?
He's just disappeared from the face of the
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't remember seeing him lately.
Well, again, the problem with Baron Corbin in general is he's not very good, and I know that Kurt can basically put a good match out from anyone, but there are there's an entire roster of people he could have a great match with. I mean, hell, someone from NXT, one of the pitches I made a few days before, I thought would be perfect for Kurt. Because the problem is that Kurt's going out, he's going to have to put someone over. And why put over Kurt? Why put over Baron Corbin, a guy who, let's be brutally honest, there's very little they can do with him from here on because he hasn't got the marketability, he's not that interesting, and the fan base generally just doesn't like him anyway, so...
They should have had it be Brock Lesnar.
No?
I think the only suitable opponent for someone of Kurt's stature would be someone who doesn't really need the win against him. Because anything else just feels a bit forced to me. Like how Shawn Michaels was the one to retire Ric Flair a few years ago. That sort of situation, I think, would be what...
Yeah, but that was ruined by Ric Flair coming out of retirement.
Well, yeah, but there's no reason to suspect that would happen again with Kurt.
Well, to be fair, if I had to...
At the time, it was great.
If I had to pick anyone for now to wrestle Kurt, I would have picked Matt Riddle. Let me justify it. Matt at Riddle actually has a legitimate MMA background and wrestling background, so you know for a fact he can keep up with Kurt.
No, dude. Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish. I just thought of something, but I'll let you finish.
Yeah, not only that, he still has name value from not just the independents, but his mixed martial arts career, which actually puts him on the believe it or not, he's actually on the level, if not a bit more, than Brock Lesnar in terms of mixed martial arts.
Right.
So he's got that marketability, and the thing is, he's made it clear through the NXT specials and stuff that they do, his aim in wrestling is to retire Brock Lesnar. Now, if you've ever seen him in NXT, he's definitely got an interesting look to him. He definitely doesn't look like the kind of person to be able to do the kind of moves and have the kind of matches that he has, but he can. And I think he and Kurt could actually put on a great match, and it would be a great bring him up to the main roster and actually give him like give him the reputation as like the anti-Brock.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, yes, his entire thing seems to be he's a hippie. But he's the fun kind of hippie.
I see.
I think he could bypass NXT because he doesn't really need the NXT World Title or anything. Come up to the main roster, and I think he could actually have some great matches on Raw if they'd let it.
But you couldn't, build him up to retire Kurt Angle in 3 weeks, though, could you?
Actually, yeah, you could with Brock. Well, you actually can with him. I think you could.
How would you do that?
Simple. Play off his actual mixed martial arts background, which was impressive enough.
Right.
And, build him up as someone who does admire and respect Kurt, which he probably does. And the fact that sticking him against some young, hungry guy is just it's expected. Like putting him against someone like, say, Shelton Benjamin or Chad Gable or something.
If it was just a match at WrestleMania, yeah, but not his retirement match. Kurt would have to know who the guy is. In storyline. I'm sure he does know who Matt Riddle is.
Not necessarily. It doesn't even need to be storyline. It doesn't need to be these things.
In WWE, it kind of does. That's just how they do things.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be at all. In fact, adding a story to it in some way, the Baron Corbin thing is based off a story. It's a shit story, but it's a story nonetheless.
Yeah, it's true.
The story is literally, Baron Corbin was kind of my bodyguard at one point and also took my job from me. So, I apparently have an issue with him.
Yeah.
The thing is, Corbin, it's better than... I know I could just say Matt Riddle would be better than Corbin, but then again, anything would be better than wrestling Corbin, because Corbin just does not have the ability to keep up with Kurt. Corbin doesn't have the ability to keep up with anybody on the roster.
Do you know who I'd have it be?
Who?
Samoa Joe.
That's a waste.
Why is that a waste?
With Kurt, if he wasn't the US champion...
Make it a title match.
But then you're just giving away. Look, Kurt's not going to win because you know for a fact
it's already been given away. He's not going to win. It's his retirement match, and he's a traditionalist. He was never going to win.
I know, but you've got to give some degree of illusion. I guess. Look, I admit a Joe Kurt Angle match would be a great match to have. I mean, hell, him versus AJ Styles would be great.
Yep. Either one, they have the history in TNA, and they could at least reference that because now they're allowed to, apparently.
Look, I'm just going to say that as a traditionalist, yes, you go out on your back. That's how you go. That's how you go out of the business. But I'd rather it go over someone new and someone who could actually use it. I mean, again, Matt Riddle's problem. The problem with Matt Riddle is that he's an NXT guy. He has openly said that he does not like the main roster. He thinks it's childish and boring and lacks any kind of competition, and that NXT is a superior product to WWE, to Raw or SmackDown. Mm-hmm. He's fully confident in how good he is. And the problem is that he's going to come up to the main roster, and you know the first thing they're going to do is ruin him, like they ruin everyone from NXT who comes up.
Oh God.
So, but the Kurt Angle rub could actually benefit someone from NXT.
Yeah, I'm not saying it couldn't. It's just it's hard to make it a satisfying narrative payoff.
It is hard, but it's also the fact that Matt Riddle as a character is unique enough that it would feel fresh and new, and it would be something new for Kurt. You know, fight this guy who is basically on the badass level of Brock Lesnar in terms of his actual athletic ability, yet has the personality of basically being a basically being a really chill bro. That is literally his gimmick. I mean, he doesn't even wear shoes or boots or anything. He just like comes in like MMA shorts. Like wears a cap and wears a jacket and stuff, and wears flip flops to the ring.
Yeah.
He even greeted Triple H when he first came to the NXT arena at the time, wearing a suit and flip.
A suit and flip flops.
Yeah, he makes a point that look, he's just being who he is.
Yeah.
And I actually think he and Kurt, I think that if you had a few things with them, like it's just a whole look, I'm here, I want to make a big splash. Even if it's just a whole look, I want to make a big splash here, and if I'm going to make my debut on the main roster eventually, I'd rather it be against you. Because his entire thing is, I like to set goals that that seem impossible. And I want to have a match with you, whether I win or lose. I want to make a point and know that I could take Kurt Angle to the limit. And if I can take you to the limit, and I can prove to these people I can take you to the limit, I can take Brock Lesnar to the limit. I can take John Cena to the limit. I can take anyone on this roster to the limit. So you could literally build it. What?
I don't believe that's me.
Ian?
Huh?
Is that you?
Yeah, it's my clock.
Okay.
Oh, right, okay. Well, now we know.
But yeah, I think that you could get Matt... If you just treat it like Matt Riddle treats Kurt Angle, like Kurt is this obstacle, that he's that good, that he wants to get Kurt while he can.
Yeah, but what reason does Kurt have to accept his challenge?
What reason does Kurt have to give anyone anything anymore?
I mean, the reason he's got at the moment is he doesn't like Baron Corbin very much.
Nobody likes Corbin. Baron Corbin's parents don't like Baron Corbin.
It's not a good reason, but it is one.
Even Baron Corbin doesn't like Baron Corbin.
Really, all you need to do with it for Kurt is that maybe Kurt maybe Kurt sees this as a challenge for him. Maybe Kurt sees a bit of himself in Matt Riddle.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if you acknowledge everything outside of the main roster that Matt Riddle has done, Kurt could make reference to that and say, yeah.
Also, keeping in mind, remember how Kurt Angle first came into the WWE, if you can. Oh wait, you weren't watching then.
I think
Kurt was actually very similar to Matt Riddle's personality. When Kurt first came to wrestling, he was this sparkly toothed, do-gooder who was heel by proxy of not knowing he was a heel. He was talking. I mean, Kurt Angle was being a goody two-shoes, drinking his milk, telling everyone, giving people abstinence, speeches about how good it is to be pure and not have sex or anything, and not drink and be all cool and chill.
I do actually remember milk being a thing.
You remember the Milkomania running wild thing. You don't remember him telling people to drink their milk, take their vitamins, or use condoms a lot.
No, I definitely remember something about milk and Kurt Angle being involved.
Yes. Yeah, he stole a milk truck and sprayed the Alliance with a milk truck.
No, I mean before that. Was it in SmackDown 2 or something that it was part of his entrance?
It was in Just Bring It.
I believe. There was a scene, if you went through a certain bit of the game, he actually did come down drinking milk, telling people how he was a superhero for drinking milk.
Drinking milk.
Drink milk is calcium and it's good for your bones. And also The Rock used to use it as an insult for him as, I'm going to drink a whole glass of milk, then I'm going to take 3 Viagra. But yeah, because Kurt did comment, you got to remember that the Kurt that we see now is the Kurt that was refined into being the wrestling badass, you know, when he was kidnapping and sexually assaulting women, which is 90% of his later career, to be honest.
Oh my god.
Remember, he kidnapped Charmel. Do we need to go into the Charmel, the whole calling her a gutter slut? Or that he wanted to have sex with Booker T's wife in a bestiality way? Or how he kidnapped SoCal Val, stood on her hair and claimed he was going to murder her if Samoa Joe didn't actually, you know, give him a match.
Yeah. Or
what about...
what about the renewal of wedding vows for Jeff and Karen Jarrett?
You mean when he pulled out, he stood there smiling for a while as if it's like, I'm just going to smile, take my, you know, just take my beating and just accept this for what it is. But they were pushing it throughout the entire goddamn thing, like to rub it in his face, even kissing right in front of him. And then he just like casually walked over and pulled out a fire axe. Yeah. Yeah, you've got to admit, the Kurt you know, and in some cases, let's be brutally honest, loved.
Yeah.
Was not. I mean, Brian Zane and the Social Injustice Warrior did a collaboration on Kurt Angle where they mentioned that it was hard to hate Kurt no matter what he was doing and the sexual assault stuff he was doing.
Oh god.
Or what about this speech where he was talking about how? I remember he did a promo once where he said that he didn't like black people. How he would want to go back in time and make Jesus tap out.
Yeah.
And he even said at the end, the thing is, I can say anything to these idiots and they will cheer me. And he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, he's got one of those personalities, hasn't he?
I do recommend you watch the Kurt Angle Wrestling with Regret video because it does make the point that Kurt was so good at what he did that no matter how morally ambiguous he was, you couldn't help but like or respect him. I mean, his TNA run really gave him the best example of this.
Heel Kurt Angle in TNA was something special.
It was. I mean, heel Kurt Angle in WWE, I mean, he wasn't, I mean, yeah, it did lead to the Booker T thing.
Oh, God.
Yes, yes, we've had the conversation and we've just had it now. But yeah, that was the Kurt Angle was likable. It didn't ruin his career, did it?
No.
But his drink driving is like Ric Flair. Ric Flair has a legacy that cannot be destroyed no matter how hard he tries. Now, Brandon, he really had, a few drink driving incidents, and Ric Flair's had entire arrests, being drunk on planes, everything. Ric Flair's done much worse. I don't think Kurt's ever going to top Ric Flair in that kind of regard, but they've both got that whole, you cannot hate Ric Flair no matter how bad he is.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Kurt Angle's thing, if this is going to be his WrestleMania thing, so special, and why people are pissed off at the whole thing. I mean,
one thing I thought was interesting is that Michael Cole on the announce desk acknowledged that people were pissed off. They don't normally do that.
Well, yeah, I know that Cultaholic did a video to pretty much say that, the match isn't actually going to happen, but the sound of things, this is the plan. They are literally going through with this. There's no swerves, none of that. This is literally the match they're going with. And people are going, well, good to know that Kurt Angle's last match is going to be the piss break match. It's got to be a first for him. I mean, by the same standard, Baron Corbin is just not really the kind of opponent for Kurt. He's not a big enough name. Even the storyline...
I think it really does have to be a bigger name to make it matter. Make it Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman's got nothing to do.
Look, we're rambling at this point, but the general gist is that Baron Corbin was never a big name at any point in his career. You know he can't put on a good match. You know it's not as if he's like a threat to Kurt. I'm pretty sure Kurt has beaten him on Raw before.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they've already had the match, which also is the reason that it doesn't matter. The match doesn't matter because Baron Corbin isn't a threat to anyone. I mean, for fuck's sake, he just lost to Apollo fucking Crews.
Yeah, no, that might be why, like, stuff like that might be why Cultaholics say that the match isn't going to happen, there's going to be something else, because if they were really serious about it, they would have built up Baron Corbin. They wouldn't have had him lose to Apollo Crews, and frankly, I'd rather see Apollo Crews face Kurt Angle at WrestleMania.
We've already seen it on Raw, that's it. But again, we've seen Baron Corbin...
It could at least be guaranteed to be a good match.
Look, I'm still sticking with. I still think that him versus Matt Riddle, but then again, him versus anyone on NXT would be a great match. Hell, I know it's not a WrestleMania worthy match, but him versus Johnny Gargano would have been fun.
Him versus AJ Styles would have been great if AJ Styles wasn't in a grudge match with Randy Orton this year. I think that's what's happening, isn't it?
We're kind of stuck on the Kurt Angle thing, but. Let's move on to...
Yeah, we've been harping on about this one part of Raw for 20 minutes.
How about Kurt Angle versus John Cena?
You know what?
I've heard things about that, and it would be an interesting... It would be a turn of events for the guy that John Cena debuted against to be the guy to put him, out.
Yeah. That would be, poetic.
It'd be poetic. Yeah, poetic if nothing else.
Yeah. I could get behind that.
Yeah.
Say what you will about John Cena, I kind of miss the guy's presence when he's gone.
I mean, at least we got to have Chad Gable versus Kurt Angle. We got to have an Olympian versus an Olympian match.
That was good this week.
Oh, and before you say it, Braun Strowman is now actually in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Yeah,
I remember him going in there. But, you know, you could easily take him out of that and put him against Kurt Angle, and it would be a much more noteworthy match than anything Baron Corbin would give him.
Also, Ricochet defeated Jinder Mahal, so that was a thing.
Of course he did.
Beth Phoenix is coming out of retirement.
I thought she'd come out of retirement.
Well, she announced this week she's coming out of retirement at
WrestleMania. Like full-time?
No, I think she's coming out at WrestleMania I think she's going to be involved in that tag team match thing against Sasha and Bayley.
Ah, right, yeah.
I think the plan is for her and Natalya to go for the tag titles.
Yeah.
Mojo Rawley is still doing promos, and I'm still like, holy shit, he still works here. Look, after he lost Zack Ryder, he just kind of disappeared for a while.
So, Braun's got to be a pick for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this year. And that can be another thing that he can win and then them do nothing with that momentum.
Speaking of nothing, Ronda Rousey, they're still trying so desperately to make Ronda Rousey a big deal, but the general consensus so far is that Ronda Rousey actually is making people cringe. Because she's doing that whole, lol, I know wrestling isn't real, and I'm playing to the fact that it's not real. Lol, I'm so cool, and she's making t-shirts saying killing kayfabe. Like, oh, you're so...
Oh, is that Ronda Rousey on Twitter?
That's Ronda Rousey in general at the moment. She's now selling t-shirts that are like killing kayfabe. She's doing the whole thing on Twitter where she's basically shitting on wrestling and telling people, look, it's scripted, it's not real anyway. So, it shouldn't fucking matter.
Yeah. Because if you don't follow her on social media, it's all right. Because I don't, and I think that she's being used pretty well on Raw.
Well, even if you take away the stuff on Raw, like the social media, she's in a position where the truth really, when it comes to Ronda Rousey, is she really hasn't done anywhere near as much as she thinks she has.
She's done as much as she needs to, really.
Division in general, what has she actually done?
Brought attention to it, I would say.
Not
is
really.
The main thing.
Not really.
She was getting headlines when she was signed. More people were talking about that.
I mean, she basically killed the entire women's division on Raw because she's done the whole "lol, I can't be beat" bullshit.
Hey, we got a title match this week, and it was about what it should have been.
Well, it was Dana Brooke. It was Dana Brooke, who again was a mistake from NXT in general. Though, again, I know I don't follow wrestlers on social media in general, but there was talk that she did say that everything she said to Ronda Rousey the week before was legit. That the women backstage do not like Ronda at all.
Well, if she's disrespecting their way of life, like their livelihood, then I'm not surprised.
The thing is, at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, Becky has done more for the women's division in 3 months than Rousey did in an entire year. Rousey brought attention to the division and basically embarrassed and ashamed everybody on Raw.
Oh, well, you've got to give this to Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch.
In an environment where all of the attention was on Ronda Rousey by design, and they were pushing Ronda Rousey as the big star because she was the biggest name, Becky Lynch has managed to become more popular.
Not just that, Ollie, you've also got to consider that she was at a stage where Road Dogg did not want her to get over. They wanted her to be this evil Irish heel. They were having to confiscate fans' signs because people were supporting her. She is the Stone Cold Steve Austin of the women's division.
Yeah, I have heard that comparison and I don't disagree.
Oh no, she's even gone so far as to actually redo Austin's 316 match at one point, just for a laugh. But the thing is, she's more over than Ronda Rousey ever been. You know, she is respectful, and granted, you've got to remember as well that Ronda Rousey's had everybody bend over and lick her ass since she got there.
Well, this is true.
Becky has had people from legends to the backstage committee and everything, fucking ripping her a new arsehole. You've got legends like Road Warrior Animal pretty much saying that people like her shouldn't be main eventing. She shouldn't be doing what she's doing. Her gimmick shouldn't work. She should stop doing her gimmick even though it's working. You know, all that stupid shit. She's got backstage saying, no, you're not supposed to be popular. Stop being popular. Charlotte's going to be the face.
Yeah, I've never understood why they do that.
WrestleMania has to end in one particular way. There is only one way it can end now for
and that's Becky Lynch winning.
Becky has to win, and she has to beat Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, she has to. Because, like, Ronda Rousey's got one appearance after WrestleMania, you say. So, yeah, they've got to make that count. If Ronda Rousey's leaving, I think Becky Lynch is the one to sort of fill that void in terms of star power. Because, well, let's face it, Ronda Rousey, like, has got less of a big deal since being there, it feels like, to me. Like, maybe that's just because we're used to having her now, but...
Okay.
Like...
Look, she's had her 5 minutes of fame, to be honest. Rousey can only go the... You remember the whole John Cena being undefeated thing and how it just got boring after a while?
Yeah.
Well, the women's division is even smaller.
Yeah.
It's a smaller pond, and yeah, Rousey has legitimate fighting experience. So, granted there. But the thing is, if this goes out, if WrestleMania ends on a... Oh, for fuck's sake. Give me a sec, Ollie, I've got to go. Hold on. I'll be right back in a second, I've just got to check something.
Okay. Right. So, Ian, what are your thoughts on this?
Sorry, I got a bit distracted.
Right. Well, we're basically talking about the women's division on Raw and how basically Becky Lynch has to win at WrestleMania because she's the only one that could fill the void for Ronda Rousey when she leaves, which it looks like she's gonna.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely think she should win, yes.
Yeah. We had that women's title match on Raw Ronda Rousey versus Dana Brooke, it lasted about 6 seconds.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's about how that should have happened, though, because gotta keep everyone in the WrestleMania match looking strong.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and didn't Dana Brooke injure herself or something? Or...
I don't know about any injury, although Sam was saying that everything she said last week was legit because, well, Ronda's been pretty disrespectful to their business.
Oh. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was trying to convince someone about it at work that she's not a very good competitor, but he still stands at, and he's trying to justify everything that she did.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, she's a real fighter. Yeah, well, she's not in a real fighting ring at the moment.
Mm.
That's not what her job is anymore. Yeah. At the moment. Yeah. I mean, you could be the world's best firefighter, but as an Olympic swimmer, you're shit out of luck.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah. You can see how the two might tangentially be related, but... What else happened on Raw? Although we're going into like halfway, but SmackDown was really a sort of a one-match show for me.
Yeah.
Although, who would your pick be for Kurt Angle's final opponent?
As I said, John Cena.
Ah, yeah, you did, yeah. Sorry. And I can agree with that, because arguably, who else is big enough? Yeah, unless maybe The Undertaker, but that doesn't seem likely.
Yes, let's not go into that.
Yeah. I mean still, WrestleMania without The Undertaker is going to be weird.
I know. We should definitely do something on that. Talk about, like, The Undertaker's career.
A retrospective, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. We could do that.
Yeah.
A special retrospective episode on The Undertaker. That's a good idea. I will alert Sam that you said that when he returns.
I apologise. I'm sorry. Real life problem happened, but everything's okay.
Everything's okay.
Basically, next door has got a Ridgeback dog that they've got no control over, and they keep letting it loose out the back, and there was a cat yowling.
Oh.
And this area I live in has a lot of retired people with a lot of old animals and just things, and this thing does not look like it's got any control.
Right.
Like it attacks the dog that it lives with, so they have to be kept in separate rooms. Kind of dangerous.
Oh God.
And it was going for my next door neighbour's dogs, my other neighbour's dog, who is a actual lady by the title.
Yeah.
Who has very expensive working dogs. And I just caught him going for him.
Oh.
So I chased the fucker off, checked on the dogs, they're fine.
That's good. Yeah.
Thankfully, they're in their kennel enclosure, and he didn't get in. So I've just gone to warn her and said, look, he's gone for your dogs. And she's like an old lady, and she's just gone, bastard. And I'm just like, Maureen, I fucking love you. So I'm sorry for that, but so what did I miss?
Right, well, we were just like retreading ground on the state of things, and then we talked about maybe one day. Well, the WrestleMania without the Undertaker is going to be weird, right?
Actually, there has been rumor he will just turn up at this point. He has been spotted around. Oh yeah, WWE have gotten rid of their headquarters. I should probably point that out. The headquarters are no longer in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh, where are they now?
I don't know. They've sold the building.
Interesting.
One careful owner.
Yeah. But, Ian and I were just mentioning maybe we'd do a career retrospective podcast on The Undertaker one day soon.
God, that would actually be a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially for a man who has kept kayfabe for that many years.
Yeah, I mean, If The Undertaker does turn up at WrestleMania, I think if anyone has earned the right to just turn up when and wherever he feels like.
Also, I want you to back me up on a little something, okay?
Go on.
On a match that happened on Raw.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, me and Liz watched Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. Now, you know the situation for both of them, right?
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre is going on to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins is going on to face Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Now, she was like, this is ridiculous, what, that Drew McIntyre has to cheat to beat Seth Rollins. I went, you've got to understand this. Seth Rollins has to go to WrestleMania to face Brock Lesnar. He can afford a loss, and if it's not clean, it doesn't diminish him. Now, Drew got the win, yes, and while it was dirty, he needs more momentum going into WrestleMania than Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins does.
Yeah. Well, he needed the win, I think, more than.
That's what I'm trying to say. It may not have been clean, but he needs the win.
He got more from that win than Seth Rollins was hurt by the loss.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. Other than that on Raw, what else is there to say other than, oh yeah, Baron Corbin after Raw went off the air, got the shit kicked out of him by the Shield anyway, so that should be a thing. And Batista did his whole speech on Batista being a control freak and everything else, and a lot of it was just, I'll be honest, it was cringy. It was, Vince McMahon should fire Triple H. Yeah, look, I don't like a lot of what Triple H has done over the years, and I don't like how he's treated certain people. But let's face it,
Since
if we got rid of
taking
him
over,
now,
like all reports of how he runs things have been good, unless I'm much mistaken.
If Triple H was to go, Vince would put someone else in charge of NXT. They would Vinceify NXT.
Well, we know what that looks like because the original NXT.
Oh God, yeah. So that's really all there is to Raw as a package. It wasn't a strong showing. It was, to be honest, if Kurt Angle had done something like he was going to challenge someone from SmackDown or NXT, or if he actually announced a big name, or he threw out a list of people he was going to challenge, he was going to go after over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Right, so is there anything else to talk about on Raw?
Not really anything else, is there? Unless you want to talk about Ricochet, the Ricochet beating Jinder Mahal thing, or No Way Jose turning up.
Oh yeah, No Way Jose. Okay, that did actually get a chuckle out of me.
Finn Balor had a match as well. Oh, and also that Alexa Bliss is going to host WrestleMania for reasons.
Alexa Bliss is what now? You broke up.
She's hosting WrestleMania.
Ah, right. Okay.
Right. I'm just going to quote Ric Flair on his opinion of Paul Heyman on this. Who the fuck is this worthless cunt, and what have they actually done that I should be aware of that has given them the right to do anything like this?
Okay, that's a little harsh.
That was actually Ric Flair's entire comment on Paul Heyman before he started ECW, because Paul was doing stupid shit again.
Well, Paul Heyman became quite a reputable name in the business.
Oh, well, yeah, unless you need money, then he's terrible.
Yeah. Well, I think renowned would be a better word.
He's renowned for his creativity, although I will say this, if we can say anything about a woman wrestler who really although Alexa Bliss has got a rumoured rivalry going on, whether she knows it or not, Nikki Cross seems to have an obsession with trying to kill her or something. I don't know. Nikki Cross is... Look, I'm just going to say this from someone who lives in Scotland. Scottish women are terrifying.
Okay, well, we got like 22 minutes left. We should probably move on to SmackDown.
Yeah.
So it opened up, I think, with a Miz promo about Shane McMahon attacking him. It was about...
Oh yeah, I saw that Miz promo.
It was about as decent a Miz promo. Like, it was...
I was trying not to laugh my ass off at the entire thing.
Yeah, well...
I don't agree with his...
selling the hell out of it, and it was about as consistent with his quality as his promos get.
Yeah, his hard work over talent thing. Yeah, the problem is the Miz has literally hasn't got the talent to last really anywhere else. So, and the problem is that wrestlers in general have a time clock, and his is kind of running out.
Well,
as depressing as it sounds, every wrestler does have a time limit, and the Miz does not have a long one. He doesn't have the versatility of people like Raven.
Well, he's already been there a long time.
He's been there a lot. The thing is, the way to survive in wrestling longer than your in-ring career is versatility. Raven had it, which is why he's lasted almost 20 years in the wrestling business. The Miz doesn't have any actual versatility. He's been in a bunch of straight-to-DVD movies, which honestly weren't very good.
He does the douchebag A-lister sort of act very well, though. I think if you do one thing really well, you can last. And he...
Oh yeah, he does the I'm hanging on, because let's face it, I couldn't have really got here on my own thing. Let's face it, if Johnny Impact hadn't done what he'd done, The Miz would have been fired a long time ago.
Yeah, but the fact is, you remember The Miz when he debuted, right?
I sadly do remember.
Yeah, I remember before he was wrestling, when he was just the host of SmackDown, and he was just Mike Mizanin, or...
I remember trying to get Hardcore Holly's dick.
I don't remember that, but...
I remember Tough Enough where he was dressed in drag and asking Hardcore Holly to smash him?
I do not remember that, no. But,
what about when he was trying to fuck all the divas and instead he got a lap dance from Big Dick Johnson?
He started the way that he did in 2006, 13 years ago, and he's still here. He's doing something right.
Not necessarily. I mean, John Laurinaitis had his job for a long time and he did nothing right.
Well, yeah, but that's more an exception than a rule.
And Kevin Dunn.
That's nepotism. Well, not nepotism. Is it still nepotism if it's a friend and not your family?
I don't know.
Well, you know what I mean. Anyway, so that was the only...
There's one major story in SmackDown, because let's face it, Shane McMahon versus The Miz. It's the token Shane McMahon gets to wrestle, and you've got to remember this. Shane McMahon has the wrestling ability of a slug. He's slightly better than his dad.
Are hilarious.
His dad's wrestling ability is a slug in a wheelchair.
But I don't know. Like, Vince McMahon never looked like he was batting a ball of string when he was punching someone.
Granted, Shane. Look, we all know Shane's work punches are the worst thing in existence.
I'm sorry, I can't get over those. They're just so bad.
I know. He's like Mike. I've got a cat called Vetra.
Yeah.
Who, whenever you dangle anything, or when you bend over to say hello to her or anything, she sticks a paw out to pat you, and that's how the Miz. That's what Shane McMahon reminds me of.
Yeah.
To be honest, what makes it worse is that Shane McMahon's last few matches at WrestleMania have been against The Undertaker and AJ Styles, two people who have their own character match.
Yeah. Well,
the Undertaker through trademark spots. AJ Styles through good wrestling ability. The Miz, on the other hand, is kind of a weak card because he doesn't really... when it comes to wrestling, he's passable at best. He's opener levels of okay.
For this match to be good, they are going to have to script it pretty tightly, I think.
I think it'd be a good opener. It's not really a big marquee match. I think the one thing we have to talk about for SmackDown that cannot be overstated, Kofi Kingston.
That gauntlet match, man. I think we can all agree that the gauntlet was wow. Yeah, that was great. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go now after the result, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. That gauntlet match was the only thing on the card that made me stop whatever else I was doing and actually give it my full and undivided attention, and I haven't been able to do that for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I have to also give credit. This is a weird one from me, but I'm just going to throw it out there. The Iconics doing anything.
Oh yeah. Look, I like the Iconics.
Look, here's the thing. You've got to remember this. In wrestling, as horrible as it is when it comes to WWE, your nationality will hold you back in some regards.
Unfortunately, yes.
If you are British, well, you just be grateful that the NXT UK situation is happening.
William Regal deserved a world title run.
And if you're Australian, oh fucking hell! If you're Australian, you better be grateful if you don't end up as Outback Jack.
Outback Jack. Oh my god.
Oh god.
Sorry, Ollie. I'll be back in a minute. What?
Yeah. But, yeah, Ian, did you get a load of that gauntlet match?
Whippets.
Just be a kind of, you can't let your dogs run about because we've got rescue dogs up the back.
Yeah. Oh.
And the thing is, the whippets, they're skinny.
Oh, I know.
They can deal a lot of damage, especially because she's got multiple. She has like 5 or 10 that she works with at a time.
Okay. Right, I'm gonna have a better talk about this in a minute. Okay. We've only got a few minutes left. Right, sorry, I'm back.
Sorry, we'll let you go soon.
No. This conversation is going to go on for quite a while. So after this, so we'll finish this, and then I'll have a talk with Liz. But the iconic, as I was saying, look, if you're Australian, especially, if you will be lucky if you don't end up as Outback Jack. I am surprised that they did not have Billy Kay come out with half a teeth missing, and a can of Foster's in her hand with a cork hat.
Saying good day, mate.
And I will say this because I have an Australian auntie that I now have through marriage to Liz.
Yeah.
And we've had these conversations, for a while about, she's told me about what Kiwi actually means to Australians. So, that's always fun. It's what they call the New Zealanders.
Of course, yeah.
The Kiwis. So for them, I know it was a petty thing, and they've been treated as a joke tag team for a while. In fact, I'm thinking that the tag team title match at WrestleMania might actually be a triple threat with the Iconics in, and I would be happy for that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I prefer Billy Kay over Peyton Royce, but I love their whole character dynamic, that they're the cowardly heels, but they need something with them. Their nationality will always hold them back. Everything else on SmackDown, Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe, as long as Rey Mysterio doesn't injure himself before he gets there.
I mean, I think it's really satisfying to see Kofi Kingston finally getting close, because I remember when he debuted and he had that undefeated streak on the WWE version of ECW.
I remember when he was this close to being the world champion until Randy Orton threw a wrench in everything.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago, man.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that happened on SmackDown, because the Gauntlet took up a large portion of the show, if we're being brutally honest with you.
Yeah, well, that's why I say that it was really a one-match show for me. But I do actually like the idea of Rey Mysterio and Samoa Joe, to your point, wrestling at WrestleMania, because it's two big names. I don't see Rey Mysterio winning it, if I'm being honest. Joe's not had the title long, and I think he can do more with the win. So...
Granted, I want to see where this Nikki Cross thing goes, because they've never really been specific with where she's even staying.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably cultural bias because of me being in Scotland, loving the Scottish thing in general. Yeah. I hate that Nikki Cross isn't with Sanity anymore, and Sanity is just doing nothing.
Yeah.
But I love Nikki Cross's I love crazy characters that are insane to a degree. Like, I loved Daphne in TNA. I love Rosemary, as I've mentioned before.
Yeah.
And Nikki's whole crazy thing. I love Bailey's whole thing with her and everything. Like, you can play here, I guess. Like, even she doesn't know how to deal with her. And to be fair, she's not great in terms of her wrestling ability, but she's creative. If you saw that match with Sasha and Bailey teaming up with her against the Riot Squad, that was fun, because just how crazy Nikki acts and how she pulls the character off in her matches. Other than that, the only other things to talk about in WWE at the moment were the fact that we are getting the match between Pete Dunne and Walter, the German with the hardest chest chops in the world.
Oh.
I suggest you look up Walter. at some point. He's a big German guy. He's apparently working for WWE NXT UK, funnily enough. And the only other thing is Tommaso Ciampa has actually given up the NXT World Title.
Yeah, well, he's injured. He's got no choice.
Yeah, for neck surgery of all things, which, you know, neck surgery is no small deal.
A broken freaking neck might not prevent Kurt Angle from winning a gold medal, but it can prevent a champion from holding a title.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing is that the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Classic are going to be the Forgotten Sons, who I haven't seen enough of, but they look like Sons of Anarchy. They look like if Aces and Eights was done right and it only kept to 3 people.
Okay.
And they are going to be facing Ricochet and Aleister Black at the next NXT pay-per-view. And there was a six-man match to determine who was going to go on to go for the NXT World Title, which was won by Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Michael Cole, who I've heard Michael Cole is actually going to be removed from the commentary team soon.
Well, it's not as if he hasn't had his run.
He's had his time in the sun, and I'll be perfectly honest, there's nothing wrong with what he's done. He's actually been pretty damn... Look, I'll admit his heel Michael Cole thing went on longer than it had any right to. He should never have beaten Jerry Lawler at WrestleMania. I think that's a given.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he wasn't that bad. He was just I mean, he's not as bad as Jim Ross. Sorry, not Jim Ross. Jim Ross is great, sorry. He's not as bad as JBL.
Uh-huh.
JBL was an awful wrestler, an awful commentator, and an awful character. He's also a piece of shit in the real world as well, but...
Yeah, you realise he is the... from what I've heard of him from various sources, he is the type of person that would track you down and beat you up for saying that.
He's a guy who literally threatens to rape most of the younger talent that came in. Literally got them in the shower, stood naked and said he was going to rape each and every one of them. Stole someone's passport and left them in Iraq because he thought it was funny. The only time it hasn't worked out for him is when...
Who did he do that to?
I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of the commentators or one of the announcers or something. But he would basically bully anyone who wasn't a wrestler, and if you weren't a big wrestler, he would bully the fuck out of you and be proud of it. The only person he didn't bully from OVW who came up, oddly enough, was Brock Lesnar, because he was pretty much informed, yeah, Brock will actually fucking murder you. And then he saw Brock Lesnar, according to Molly Holly, he was looking forward to bullying some of the new people from OVW, but then got one look at Brock Lesnar and he was basically almost on his knees.
Oh.
He was he was terrified of Brock Lesnar. And this was before he did his MMA stuff.
Yeah. Oh. Well, yeah. But again, on to the main attraction for SmackDown. Yeah, the gauntlet match with the surprise 6th opponent.
Yeah, you know, this is hilarious, but it's hilarious mainly because I have my own I have my own opinion of where I think this is going.
All right, go on.
I think Kofi is going to get his match at WrestleMania. It is going to happen.
Yeah, but I'm wondering how.
What they are doing is they are doing the building adversity thing for Kofi.
The same thing they did for Daniel Bryan back in the day.
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry. Give me a sec. Right, they're doing the parallels between him and Daniel Bryan right now.
Yeah, it's being done pretty well, I've got to say.
Oh yeah. Considering they tried this shit with Roman Reigns and it didn't work. You see why it works for Kofi Kingston and why it didn't work for Roman?
Well, because there's an actual organic swell of support for Kofi Kingston.
Here's the thing, the New Day is something so big that I'm even sucked into it, okay? It's something WWE did and something WWE's done, and I'm actually into it. I love the New Day.
Yeah, so do I.
At first I saw them, I thought it was just a joke playing on the whole black church stereoterotype.
That's exactly what it was.
Okay, but I'm just going to say 2 words that made me love it. Pancake fuckery.
Pancake fuckery.
Kofi Kingston, as I told you last week, I've said this from the day from last week, and I'll still say it until I'm dead in the fucking ground.
Yeah.
He is synonymous with a match.
Yeah, the Royal Rumble.
Okay, here's the thing.
And it's a huge match as well.
The Rock is not associated with a particular match type.
No.
Hulk Hogan is not synonymous with a particular match type. Very few people get that honor.
Oh, Jack says, what the hell is this? This is the weekly wrestling podcast we've been doing for like a month now.
Who said that?
Jack.
Jack. He's a psychomaniac. But anyway, getting back to it, Kofi Kingston is associated with the Royal Rumble, a match that has gone on for a long time and no one has really been synonymous with it, save for a few. In a match that has like 30 people at a minimum these days, that's a tall order because he's got something named after him, the Kofi, the Kofi survival thing.
Yeah.
And granted, he always comes up with a new thing. He's the thing to watch every Royal Rumble. Even if you don't know who's going to be in the Royal Rumble that year, you know Kofi's going to be in and he's going to do something with it. The Hardys have.
Oh, Sam, I didn't think you noticed. We all noticed.
The Hardy. Sorry, what?
We all noticed, Jack. Good to see you.
Yeah. The Hardys have the ladders. The Dudleys have the tables. Mick Foley has the Hell in a Cell. Terry Funk has pretty much anything where he bleeds.
Undertaker has caskets.
Undertaker has caskets and anything that's basically dark-based, buried alive as well. Kane has the Inferno match.
Yeah.
And Abyss has the Monsters Ball.
And yeah, what's interesting is to be synonymous with a match, you don't ever have to have won it.
That is the best part of it. I mean,
Kane didn't win an Inferno match until 2006. Or was it 7?
I know, right? But it was like the match for him because he's associated with fire, so he gets a little bit of a... I mean, Raven's got the Raven's House of Fun match, which is difficult to explain.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I will not count, however, Jeff Jarrett's King of the Mountain match because fuck that match.
That's just a reverse ladder match, isn't it?
It's literally it's like you pin someone and then you're eligible to put the belt back up.
Okay, yeah. That's way too convoluted.
Understand the thing. You have about 5 people in a match. You pin someone, and that person goes into a penalty box. The person who pins you then has the right to take the belt from the referee, climb a ladder, and put it up. Jeff Jarrett invented the match solely to put the NWA World Title on himself a few times.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, also, fun thing this week, I think Harlem Heat actually reunited on an indie show to wrestle.
Really?
And they won the tag team titles from Reality Championship Wrestling or something. Like they won the tag... Yeah, Stevie Ray and Booker T reformed to win the tag team titles from a bunch of people whose gimmicks are they think they're angels.
That is brilliant. I'm going to have a look for that. Anyway, so...
By all means, I mean, Stevie Ray doesn't look great, but Booker T just looks like Booker T. He even went so far as to wear his old Harlem Heat jacket.
Yeah. Right, so we're running out of time now, but your general thoughts on how the Gauntlet match was as a match?
The Gauntlet match, in general, it told a story.
Yeah.
I think what helped it, Samoa Joe helped it more than anyone else.
Yeah, he choked him out after losing.
Oh yeah, Joe choked Kofi the fuck out, and Kofi still won it. And then Vince McMahon came out to pull a New Year's Revolution 2006 on John Cena levels of bullshittery.
Yeah.
If you remember when Vince came out that one time and told John Cena, "Oh yeah, you're defending the title against this man now," and then sent out Batista, and then Batista murdered him.
Wasn't it Edge?
No, Edge was a few years before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is a thing he does quite a bit.
Yeah, but Edge had the Money in the Bank briefcase, so you can give him a pass for that one. But he did do one where I think John Cena was bloody and beaten, and he went, "Oh yeah, you have to wrestle this guy now," and then Batista came in and then basically fucking destroyed John Cena and won the belt. It was around that time when Batista was actually fun, you know, where he was basically, you know, where he had that whole feud with John Cena.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he quit while he was in a wheelchair and said, "This place will be out of business within a week."
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And then he went on to make Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which, you know, I think he's done better with that than, you know, than wrestling could have done for him, to be fair.
I think when all is said and done, when it comes down to Kofi's gonna get more out. Daniel Bryan doesn't need anything out of this at this point. I mean, Daniel came back. He's basically, because we never thought Daniel would ever come back to wrestle, and now he's the WWE champion with a hemp title.
Yeah. Oh, Jack says, "This is not my expertise, so I shall leave mentioning my plans to broadcast Night Trap as soon as I get a dongle to play my PS4 controller on my PC."
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Night Trap. That'll be fun.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the gauntlet match it did what it needed to do, and what it's done is what most other things haven't done. It's built someone up. Kofi's only become stronger from this.
Yeah. And, okay, he didn't win, but then the expectations were ridiculous.
Yeah, but now, when he does win the world title, if he does at WrestleMania, it's going to be a bigger deal.
He says, "You're both welcome to join us."
I told you Kevin Owens was just a stopgap.
Yeah. I mean, I said at the time, it's like, it makes sense because there hasn't been a natural growth of support for someone like there's been for Kofi since, arguably, Daniel Bryan. So why would you waste that coming to a head at Fastlane?
Look, I think Daniel Bryan is in a position where it's okay for him to lose the title. I mean, the guy...
Yeah, he's going to be over as hell no matter what happens at this point.
I think Daniel needs to go... I think Daniel will eventually get a Hall of Fame thing. I think he deserves it.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, he's done naturally what WWE have always failed to do, so it's always a big thing.
Yeah.
That being said, I think we can honestly say, overall, as good as the gauntlet was, it wasn't enough to keep, it wasn't enough to save this week's, lineup. It wasn't that strong. Kurt Angle's failure.
Courtesy of Jack. Quite.
Look, Kurt Angle, Kurt Angle's unfortunate thing, it didn't work out for him, sadly.
Yeah.
That was the downside for Raw. Ronda Rousey is just... Ronda's on a whole thing where the only way this can end well at WrestleMania is if she loses.
I think that's where it's going anyway.
It has to at this point. I mean, she's talked about how she's going to break kayfabe and legitimately beat the shit out of Becky Lynch.
Right.
So, I mean, I know WWE are not happy with her in general.
No, I wouldn't be either.
She's
been profoundly disrespectful to the business.
It's hard to keep a dog under control when you put a crown on it.
Yeah, I understood that reference.
Good for you, Ollie. Good for you. But yeah, at the end of the day, Ronda hasn't really... Look, she's done what she needed to do. Unfortunately, they built her up as an unstoppable machine. That's good, but unfortunately, that means that she has to lose eventually.
Yeah. And it's just as well that she's, the rumour is that she's leaving, because, once she's lost, where else do you go with that? That's the problem with the unstoppable monster gimmick, because eventually someone will stop them, and then what?
Well, that's the whole thing with Ronda Rousey. Once she fails at something, she throws a tantrum and runs away. That's what she did with UFC, and that's what she's going to do with WWE once she's done.
Okay, I don't presume to know the woman, but...
I mean, once she lose, that's what she did. I mean, when she loses in the Mortal Kombat, when you kill a Sonya Blade character, she's going to appear in Street Fighter later anyway. Look, that's her entire thing, from what I understand from her, is she lost a match in UFC, threw the biggest bitch fit on the planet because she can't conceive of herself not being as good as she thinks she is. Then she got the shit kicked out of her once again because apparently all you need to do to beat Ronda Rousey is have better reach than her. Then she makes a bunch of racist and transphobic comments at you, and then goes off somewhere else. Oh, she basically the context on that is she lost to a woman and then claims that that woman wasn't a real woman, so it didn't count because she was clearly a man at some point.
Ah, right. Was the athlete in question transgender, or was that just the insult?
That was the insult. She's apparently a well-known transphobe in general. She's apparently well-known for being transphobic, but she constantly accused her opponents of being men before they were women, because there was no other conceivable way for them to have beaten her, apparently.
Oh my god. Okay,
she can't conceive.
Putting aside the fact that that's not even how hormone replacement therapy works.
I know that's not how it works, but this is how Ronda Rousey is as a person. I mean, granted, you'd think she'd fit in a company full of egomaniacal bitches like, the Bellas, but... Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, once she's lost all of her, she's lost everything worthwhile, because they put the belt on her. She's got what she wanted out of it.
Yeah, and Becky Lynch is more popular than her at this point anyway, so...
She got the women's title, she's made a joke and damaged the reputations of every woman on Raw at this point.
Yeah. Well, okay, so, I think we're basically out of time, but the gist of this podcast is... Raw was a bit meh, but with some high spots. Kurt Angle could have a better WrestleMania farewell match than with literally anyone. And
if I had to grade it, I'd give Raw a D-. It really wasn't anything to write home about.
The Gauntlet match elevated SmackDown quite a bit.
SmackDown, I'm going to give a C+, because as great as it was one story being told on a show that really should have been building everything else. Yeah, so I'll give it. As I say,
it was a bit of a one-match show.
It was a one-match show, and because of that, I'm going to give it a C+, mainly due to the fact that the Becky Lynch stuff, we already get that on Raw, so it doesn't matter. Kofi Kingston got what he needed, so that puts it up. And Nikki Cross being a crazy Nikki Cross, I'll give that a tiny little point to, so I'd give it a C+.
Yeah. And Ian, your thoughts?
Well, as Sam said, it did tell a story, and it wasn't the greatest match of the night, in my opinion. I mean, hardly any of them were, but it was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not a lot I can say, really.
Well, we've filled the time, but yeah, I'm gonna oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry. Yeah. So, if there is nothing else,
no,
I don't think there's anything else at this point.
Right. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn for the week and be back next Friday with Next Week in Wrestling, or on WWE's main roster at the very least.
If anyone's up for it a bit later, I might do a DHPW stream tonight, because I haven't done a stream for ages.
Cool.
Okay.
I haven't streamed for a while either. I won't ask you where the internet can find you, because all your names and handles are on the image on the
find us.
Thing. Yeah, you can find everyone at the places listed in the image that has been on the video for the last hour.
Thank you for joining us, and I'm sorry that this week has not been great for wrestling, to be honest.
Well, it'll pick up.
I mean, hell, I haven't even seen Impact this week or anything that's happened on there, so...
Yeah. Well, that's one problem with wrestling, is there's too much of it for 1 week. It's like, if I were getting paid like full-time job money to do this, I could probably keep up with it all.
There was one thing that happened on Impact, I guess. John Morrison is now the world champion over in Impact, by the way.
Oh, good.
He turned on his partner and pretended to have a broken neck, so his girlfriend, Tia Valkyrie, kind of messed around with his opponent, Brian Cage, there, so that was about it. The only other thing is that Rosemary's now trying to undo the brainwashing of a friend.
Ah, I see.
So that's the thing. Again, I know it's an area you're not exactly familiar with because, well, it's been when you were watching it, it was still TNA Impact.
Yeah, it's GFW Impact now, isn't it?
Oh no, GFW's been gone for a while. It's just Impact now.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us, those that did, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.